Welcome to another Cardano update. Like always, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts and if you want access to our daily Discord updates. So here on the 4-hour chart, we're still trying to complete this 1-2 setup. As you can see, we are already at the 0.886 support level, which is not the best thing in the world because dropping below this would pretty much confirm that this 1-2 setup is gonna get invalidated. So if we do not get a bounce right now and if the price does not manage to get above the 4th wave high right there, which I believe it's at 60 cents, then I think this is gonna get invalidated, and that could even put us at the much bigger support zone right here at the 0.786. This is the last support that I can give you, and after this, obviously, to completely invalidate the AB structure, we're gonna have to drop below that low over there, and dropping below 27.8 cents is gonna tell me that this is probably gonna turn into a much bigger ABC structure for the much bigger 1-2 setup on the chart, meaning that the next bear market could even put us at the much bigger 0.618 support level. As you can see in the 2021 bear market, or in the bear market after the 2021 all-time highs, we went to the 50% support zone for the entire 1-2 setup, so this could have been some kind of ABC structure, or I'm sorry, ABC structure for the much bigger B wave to the upside, and right now we could be heading in the C wave, which again could even put us at 13 cents, but for the time being, as long as we manage to actually stay above 38.8 cents, which is my last support zone, then I think the price could easily get back to like $3 in the next couple of months and, you know, start the much bigger third wave of the third wave. But again, dropping below this is gonna suggest that the top might already be in, but for the time being I'm bullish because we are above support. So going back to the 4-hour, I do have to say that over here we are above the moving average on the RSI, which I believe is a good start. We even broke the downtrend on the RSI, which is also good, but what we have to do is actually start going up on the price. So as mentioned, we have to get above the 4th wave high right there, and then above the bull market support band and the 200-day moving average, which is at 75.7 cents, and then we could focus on the third wave of this 1-2 setup, which is currently at about $1.04. That's the target. But I want to talk about Bitcoin for a second again, because Bitcoin right now is at $92,000. I believe yesterday we dropped a bit lower, we dropped to like $88,000, and I want to tell you that this drop so far is nothing too, significant, because from that high over there to the lows, we are down about 29%, and why is this not really significant? Because the last previous two corrections were also a 30% drop. For example, back here, I believe in April, we went down 30%, and then after that we still managed to get new all-time highs, and that's exactly what happened over here last year as well. We went down 32%, and then after that we still got to all-time highs. So right now, to confirm that we are in a bear market, I think this correction needs to be even lower. So for example, if we want this correction to be the biggest correction of the cycle, dropping 33% from that high over there is gonna put us at about $84,000. So dropping to $84,000 is probably gonna mean that we are already in a bear market. But again, even if we are in a bear market, we're probably gonna get a move to the bull market support band at some point, because that's what always happens before we actually start the much bigger bear market. For example, here, I talked about this yesterday, I'm not gonna talk about this too much today, but we got an ABC structure, and in the B wave, we got to the bull market support band, and that's pretty much exactly what happened over here in 2017 as well, and back in 2013. So obviously maybe you could say that in this cycle it's gonna play out a bit different, but I don't think it's gonna do that, because even if you think that this cycle is different, I don't think it is different, because this last high right here was back in October, and in the last 3 cycles Bitcoin topped in either November or December of the post-halving year. So if we top in October this year instead of, November or December, it's not gonna be too different because it's only 1 month away. So yeah, if Bitcoin has already topped, then I think we have to close below the trend line right there on the weekly RSI for a second week in a row, meaning that if the price does not manage to get to, let's say, $100,000 by the end of Sunday and close above $100,000, then the bear market has most likely started, which could be very bad for the altcoins. But please understand that back in 2017 over here, Bitcoin actually topped in December of 2017, and during this time the altcoins were actually going up after Bitcoin started going down. So here, like I said, the top was December 11th, and if you look at the Ethereum chart, for example, back in 2017, if you look at what it was doing, it was actually going up during that time. So Bitcoin was going down quite a lot, but Ethereum during that time went from like $700 all the way up to $1,400. And why did this happen? Because during that time, Bitcoin dominance started going down. As you can see over here, it broke down and it got to about, let's say, 35% in January, And this is exactly what happened back in 2021 when the bear market started for Ethereum and the altcoins. Bitcoin dominance was already at cycle lows, meaning that we kind of need Bitcoin dominance to be at cycle lows again if we want to confirm that something more bearish is going on for the altcoins. And speaking of Ethereum right now, if you look at the daily chart, for example, we got to the 0.618 support level and we found support there, meaning that a bounce could start right now. And if it does, my next target is going to have to be adjusted again, and it's going to be at about $6,300. Getting this move, in my opinion, is going to start the altcoin season, because usually the altcoin season starts after Ethereum breaks all-time highs. So I think it's still possible to break all-time highs, but only if we manage to actually start that move. And in my opinion, it could start because we got to the oversold territory on the daily chart for the first time since we were in this area back in April. And as you can see, back then we were at $1,300, and then after that we went to about $5,000. So this could obviously reverse, but please understand that dropping below the 0.618 support level is gonna turn this entire 1, 2, 3, 4 setup into a diagonal, meaning that it could turn into a bearish chart, because I don't really trust diagonals. But maybe you could say that this was actually the 1, 2 setup and this was the third wave, and right now we're in the fourth wave. And if you think that's the case, then maybe we could even drop a bit lower and, you know, it's still gonna be fine. But for the time being, as long as we stay above that low over there, and as long as we stay above the 0.618 support level, then I think the next target should be at around $6,000 to maybe even $7,800. I also want to talk about the Bitcoin chart for a second, because here on the daily we also got to the oversold territory, which again is a very bullish sign, because the last time this happened was back here, I believe in, let's say, February, and then after that we got to the bull market support band. Now before this, it was right here last year in August of 2024, we got to the oversold territory on the daily, and that gave us a move to the bull market support band, and that's exactly what happened these two times as well. So here we got to the oversold territory, and then we got to the bull market support band. Obviously we went a bit lower after that, but even in that moment we got to the oversold territory, and then again we tested the bull market support band, and this is pretty much what happened every single time we got oversold. So I think a move to the bull market support band is gonna happen no matter if we are still in a bull market or in a bear market. But I also want to talk about something else in this video, because I know these videos are getting kind of repetitive, so I want to talk about the USDT dominance chart, because this chart is very important. And why is this chart important? Because when this goes up, it means that people are selling their altcoins and even Bitcoin, and you know, that leads to this going up because people have more USDT in their portfolio. And this is relevant because right now, if you look at the RSI on this chart, we are almost overbought. I believe yesterday we were overbought when I talked about this on the Discord server over here. As you can see in that screenshot over there, we were overbought, and that's very important because the last time we got to the overbought territory on the RSI on this chart was back in 2022, and then after that this chart went down about 40%. And obviously you could look at what happened, for example, over here as well. So here back in 2020 we got overbought, and then after that we went down about 61%, and I have many other examples on the chart. As you can see, each time we got to the overbought territory, the price dropped between 40% and let's say 70%. Also, I'm sorry, not the price, the percentage. And I think this is important because if this goes down about 40 to 60% right now, that's going to lead to a pretty big move on the Bitcoin chart and on the, Ethereum and altcoin charts. And yeah, I think this is a very good sign, but for the time being, if it does go a bit higher, I'm not going to be surprised. But yeah, I think we're going to get a drop at some point, which is going to lead to a big move. Also, I want to mention that the fear and greed index is still at extreme fear, which I think is very interesting because Bitcoin only dropped like 30%, which again is very normal compared to what we had, so far in the cycle. And again, the last time the fear and greed index was so low was back over here in February. And then after that, the price went from $75,000 to about $125,000. So again, I do not think we are in a bear market because everybody is way too fearful, meaning that at some point, everybody's going to start having to be, greedy again. And that's going to probably lead to a pretty big move to the, upside on the Bitcoin chart and on the other charts. So that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts and if you want access to our daily Discord updates. Like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.